Om Namah Shivaya. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So in reviewing the contents of the mantras, one thing to keep in mind is that the Adi Daivikam view, which is primarily adopted by Swami Dayanand Ji, is just as valid as the Adhyatmika view, which is highlighted. I wouldn't say completely adopted, but highlighted by Swami Maheshanand Ji. But both of them are really relevant. So here, if you look at verse 11, in fact, if you look at verse 10, which is on page 54 of Swamiji's book, let's start with that, number 10. So, starting with that, and also the 11, which we'll do very shortly, what it also means, so both meanings have to be kept in mind. Something which is, so for instance, in this case, we have said that the jiva is the arrow that you're requesting ShriRudram to hold in his hand and to sharpen it so that it can go far. To modify it, I am in your hands. Do make sure that you make me suitable to reach my goal. So this is one arrow. Okay. There's also the references of many arrows. So I cannot be many. So you can also say that the many arrows could be for each one of us, which is a possibility. You can look at it that way. Or you can say that the arrows are multiple arrows where it refers to other people who are bothering me with arrows. That can also be taken. So I think both of the interpretation, not interpretations, but both of views of looking at it are valid. So you hold me as the arrow, and I think that is the primary. The Adhyatmika view should be the primary. But the same use of the arrows can also be done by a variety of problems that I'm having, other people that are bothering me, other events that are bothering me. And so make sure that you also take care of that. And that's the Adi Daivika view, not just the Adhyatmika view. So we should not just throw that out and say that is invalid. No, that's not what we want to do. We have to really see in which context it is being said. So therefore, with that in view, let's review number 10, which is on page 54. Pramuncha dhanvanastam ubhayoho ratni yorjam yasche yaste hasta ishavaha parato bhagavo vapa. So let's look at the English translation. Unfortunately, I don't have enough time to do a word for word. And you have the book, so I'm less worried about it. If we didn't have the book, then I would have to make sure that your notes have an interpretation of each word as you go along. But I'm being a little bit more, I'm faster and more casual, assuming that you can actually refer to the word-for-word meaning on your own. So just for the sake of speed. So if you look at the English translation of this verse, it says, "O Lord, may you release the string at both ends of the bow. May you also keep the arrows in your hand out of sight." Okay? And then also, let's go to number 11 and then I'll come back and make a commentary together for both of them. Avatatya dhanustagum sahasraksha shate shude nishirya shalyana mukha shivona sumana bhava. Look at the English translation. O Lord, one who has 1,000 eyes, we have already looked into that. One who has many quivers, untying the strings of the bow and making the edges of the arrows blunt. May you be auspicious form and have a blessing disposition towards us. Okay, so now if you look at both 10 and 11 as a grouping, it is very obvious that the mantras directly talk about multiple arrows that can be thrown at me, isn't it? You cannot throw yourself into you, it has to be external to you. And so, and which it is, it's a description of all the problems. When we go to Anuvaka number 2, you will see this, this line of thinking adopted as a main one. But at this point also one should appreciate that the Adidaivika view also is equally applicable into this case. You see the point that I'm making? So you don't?
No, I got confused because yesterday when we discussed that the arrow should be sharp so that it can go too far.
I still maintain that. That's exactly what you need to do. That's the Adhyatmika view. The Adhyatmika view is that I am the arrow and shape me. Is still the main one. All I'm pointing out is that the Adidaivika view, where the multiple arrows are being thrown at me, is not invalid. That's the point I'm making.
And those, in Adidaivika view, those arrows that are being thrown at me need blunt.
Correct, exactly. That's right, yeah. Okay, so that's one thing. So yesterday we had done up to Harikeshayo Upavitine, right? We had done up to that point. Which one is there? I'm just looking at. Fifth, number 5? I'm sorry?
Second Anuvaka number 1.
So we had already gone to Anuvaka too?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, I just wasn't sure. Yeah. Now I'm okay. I had lost my track as to exactly where we left off. Okay, that reminds me. So all this discussion is on Anuvaka 1, right? And still relevant. But now I think we'll pick up the thread where we had left off. Thank you. So we had done up to that. The next one is Bablushaya Vivyadhine Annanam Pataye Namaha. So Babluhu is let me see what Swami Dayanand's translation is. Just give me a minute. Oh, got it. Harikeshayo Pavishtina Pathina 4. Yeah. That's right. Okay, very consistent with both of them. I always look for seeing a better view, but they're in this case both of them. So Bablu here means a Vrishabha, a bull. Okay? So there is a Puranic story that Rudra, Shiva, rides on a bull, Nandi. So what is that? So Nandi represents dharma. So the meaning here is, if you want Shiva to be kind to you, he will ride along with you based on dharma. It goes back to the same discussion that we were having earlier in today, that an adhikari for the daya for Shiva has to be a dayalu himself. And so similarly this is also the case. So the dharma is a precursor to jnanam. You cannot have an adharmi person saying, all I need to do is to attend Vedanta classes by Swami Dayanandji and I'm done. You cannot do that. Nothing will happen. And in fact, what will happen is that you will go in the wrong direction. And that's exactly the character of Ravana is, as we talked about. So the character of Ravana versus Rama is very relevant here, because Ravana also was a great bhakta of Shiva. And so there, Shiva was acting as karma phaladata. You see? So this is the two forms of Shiva. One is just as a straight karma phaladata. He's a bhakta, he's done all of this, so I have to give it to him. But the daya is not there. And the daya is not there because the ego of Ravana was such that he misused the powers that he obtained from Shiva. And so here also, adharmi, it's very possible an adharmi might come and do a lot of puja and stuff like this, but then he does not, his behavior in the world is completely different, as we were talking about earlier. He could be cheating and so on and so forth. So he might get some powers from Shiva, but those powers are not really going to do anything to him. In fact, he'll be misusing it. So the bablu here, the reference is the dharma, which is the Shiva rides the dharma, not the adharma. So that should be done. Okay. Then we have we go to verse number 6 on page 81. Namo bhavasya hetyai jagatam pataye namaha. This is also an important thing to see. Bhavasya hetyai. This is one of Swami Dayanandji's favorite topic. Totally, if you really examine his classes, his texts and so on, you will find this. So bhava means a life of change. Bhavati iti bhavaha. One that is born is called bhavaha. One which is continuously being born is the real meaning of bhava. And so avasarpati, which is just, so the snake is a very good epithet for this. So the snake, without knowing where the legs are, is moving very fast. It's just slithering. And so the life also, the bhava is not just one birth. It is a continuous birth. And again, going back to what Swami Dayanandji was saying, that what really amazes him is the smallness of Ishvara's creation, not the bigness of it. as we talked about it, that if you look at the table consists of continuously moving molecules, circular molecule movement. So it is moving. It is so same thing happened in a human being. Our basic elements are moving continuously. Newborns are being born inside the body. Even though it looks like I'm the same person, but it's a new person altogether, every minute, every second. So this is what is called bhavaha. But more than that, I think what Swami Dayananji was really focusing on is that if you examine your life, you are continuously banking on change. Change as a basic element of life. So what does that mean? So what it means is that at any one time, we are not completely happy with who we are. Not completely. We are somewhat happy, somewhat unhappy. It's a mixture. And our life consists of continuously trying to improve ourselves. This is what it is if you examine. Either you're doing it consciously or you're doing it unconsciously, doesn't matter. But really speaking, you take any person and you interview. Who are you? What's happening with you? And the person will say, I am at this point. He'll describe it. Supposing you have a complete description of the status of the person. What's he going to say? He'll say, I am here at this point, and I hope to do this. Then, quote unquote, do something else. Then after that, I'm going to do this, and so. So you always have a feeling that I need to improve. I need to be better. You don't have a feeling that I'm arrived. The only time you have a feeling that you have arrived is when you have nirvikalpa samadhi. For a short time, you don't have any desires, you don't have any aspirations, you don't have a feeling that something is lacking in me. So, nirvikalpa samadhi, first of all, here's the problems with nirvikalpa samadhi. First of all, it is very difficult. Not impossible, but difficult. Not easy. The biggest problem is it is very temporary. And also the other thing is that the only time you don't aspire to be better is when you are asleep. So the very hallmark of a jiva, see, in sleep the jivatvam disappears. You are not there, really speaking. If you are there, you are always aspiring for change. And the other interesting thing about it is that the change that you're aspiring to is to be done by karma. And those two are go side by side. No one says that, I am, you can say I'm getting a little wiser. But really, while saying I want to be better because I want to do some things to get better. So the improvement and the sense of change and to be born again and again is all based on karma. Here he says, having said all that background, now we can close the books on it. He says, Namo bhavasya hetyai. So Swami Dayananji also say that when you get the blessings of Rudram, then this sense of changing stops. And so here, this is a very important thing to see. See, you get an absence of change every night for a long time. I just took a very long nap, and I was gone. I had no idea who I was. It took me a long time to even wake up. And so during that time, the absence of change is there. And it is given to you as a taste. Beautiful sleep and dream are very beautiful gifts by Ishvara to give you a taste of what can be. Because you cannot say, no, there's no such thing as stopping the continuous change. Yes, there is. You taste it. The problem with that is that along with the absence of change, you also have ignorance. It'd be very nice if you're sleeping and you can say, oh wow, I am not there, only Ishvara is there. This is so wonderful, I'm sleeping. You don't have that. You don't have that. So that's the only thing that is missing. Similarly, in the Nirvikalpa Samadhi, which is also like sleep, you have a short feeling of absence of bhavatvam for a short time. Then you can just say, wonderful. So here I think one of the acharyas, I don't know which of the acharyas was saying this, that a person who does Nirvikalpa Samadhi is even more upset with the world than the person who doesn't do it. Because it is such a good experience that when you come out of it, you don't like it. And so, yeah, you may feel peaceful for a while, but it is a little bit like we're going to Hawaii and enjoying yourself so much. Everything is perfect, weather is perfect, except prices. Prices are very high in Hawaii, although they're getting everywhere. I don't know if the inflation is 7% in the mainland. I don't know what it is in Hawaii. It's probably 10%. So other than that, you're very happy in Hawaii. So wonderful. Then when you get into the plane, the problems of sitting in the seat of the plane are even worse than if you had not gone to Hawaii. Same problem is there, but it seems worse. Because all of a sudden, in matter of minutes, you're transported from heaven. I wouldn't call it hell, but it's pretty painful. You go there and the person says, we have had a change of planes. And so we're sorry to change your seats. Because you worked for 6 months to get an aisle seat. I always try to get an aisle, although this time this guy took it away from me. But I always like aisle seat. No, I think he was okay, because the problem I don't like the middle seat is because this is what happened. I wanted to go to the bathroom at one time, and this other fellow was asleep. I didn't want to wake him up, and he was a big, heavy guy, and didn't want to really anger him. So I sat there, for a long time, stuck. So we have changed your seat. Unfortunately, you are in the middle seat. See, all the heaven from that feel even worse. So why did I even do this? You feel I've spent $5,000 for 1 week to going to Hawaii, and it feels even worse than that. So similarly on Nirvikalpa Samadhi, our acharyas used to say that the disadvantage of Nirvikalpa Samadhi is, first of all, it is very temporary. Secondly, when you come out of it, you feel even worse. In fact, this is one of the examples given in our Puranas. So in our Puranas are just a great compendium of stories and so on and so forth. So there, our rishis get so angry. They give shrapa to people, and so people will say, how can a rishi be angry? I cannot believe this. Yes, they can. Because some of the rishis are practicers of Nirvikalpa Samadhi. They don't have jnanam. Although the very word rishi means the one who know. But these are not complete rishis. And so when they come out of it, somebody disturbs them, they get very angry. So anyway, all it means is, bhavasya hetyai means that in knowledge of the self stops the change as the basic element of your life. Because the Atma does not change. And that's who you really are. It does not change. And this is, we will hopefully do a meditation on this. This is a remarkable thing to see this. That's why I think I might have mentioned it earlier. The Atma is called forever young. This is a wonderful thing to see. So when you say I, it is the same I that Rama had. It is the same I that Krishna had. It's not a different I. Same I, unchanging. It's the same I that you have and I have. Same I. Doesn't change at all. So bhavasya hetya, so all it really means is to understand that I am changeless. This is how Shiva appears to us. So just a comment on few things. So bhavasya hetyai. Anything special on number 7? Namo Rudraya Atatavine Kshetranam Pataye Namaha. Salutations to the one. I'll just straight translate without many comment. It's nothing to really ponder on. Salutations to the one who liquidates the sorrow of samsara, who protects with a bow that is ready to use, and who is the Lord of all bodies. Very straightforward. So here it just means, Lord of all bodies means that it is sarvatmakatvam. Sarvatmakatvam. Okay, so the next one is interesting. Namasutaya ahantyaya vananam pataye namaha. So, Suta means the charioteer, as Swami Dayananji has translated. Very good translation on page 85. My salutations to the charioteer, Sarathi. Sarathi. So as we have talked already before, sometimes I've already talked about these things, so I won't repeat it. So here, this is a verse that expresses the antaryamitvam. Antaryamitvam means the way you operate your life is the way Ishvara wants you to operate the life given your situation. Okay? So this is where the Gayatri mantra becomes very, very relevant. So there it says, Dhiyo yo naf prachodayat. So in Gayatri mantra, the first portion of that, just look at it. The Gayatri mantra has two portions. One is namaskara and the other one is prarthana. Just like in ShriRudram. So, Bhur bhuvasvahat saviturvarenyam bhargo devasya dhimahi dhiyo. So up to this much is namaskara. Oh my God, you are the Lord of all the worlds. You are so powerful. You can do anything. And you do things without even visibility. All of those, I remember this was several years ago. I taught a 3-class section on, I don't know if it, I think probably certainly was, maybe have an audio on it, but I did a lot of research. I read a lot of texts and so on and so forth, which I normally do when I'm taking up a new class. And so the Gayatri Mantra was used, I think, about 3 classes. So there we found that Bhur Bhuva Swaha, that has a lot of meanings behind it. And so we did that. But anyway, in the context of this explanation, the first part of Gayatri Mantra is Namaskara. That means, oh Lord, I know what you can do and what you are. Can you? And so the second part of that is Dhiyo yo naf prachodayat. Can I please be given my buddhi which is good for me? Oftentimes, most of the time, I think I'm doing the right thing, but I may not be doing the right thing. This is exactly the giving the arrow in the hands of Rudra. You say, can you please take me in your hand and direct me where I need to go? Make my thoughts better. I remember a lot of discussion on this, not discussion, but talks by Swami Dayanandji. And what he was saying, and if you can relate to it in our lives also, that if you examine your life and what you used to be and how you are meandering through and so on and so forth, what you need to do is to take the next step wisely. Because if you say, well, I have a long-term view of being what I want to be, but right now I don't want to do it. I'm going in the opposite direction. So this thinking itself will give you problems of reaching your goal. So you have to break it down into, what am I doing just now? What am I doing? And so the long term will take care of itself if at every step you make the right decision. And the right decision is something that you need some wisdom for. And so this is exactly what Arjuna, the symbology of the chariot in Mahabharata is, and how Sri Krishna. And so Arjuna was a very smart guy, because as you know, he chose Krishna rather than Krishna's army, because he was given a choice. Krishna was sleeping, and Duryodhana and Arjuna were both standing. And so I think he saw Krishna first. Yeah, not I think, he saw Krishna first. So he says, we are both want your support. And Krishna and Arjuna said, so he said, what are the choices? He says, either you have me or you have my entire army. And who got to choose first? He says, I saw Arjuna first, so let him choose first. Duryodhana was getting nervous. Oh my God, I am sunk. I'm gone, because he's going to choose the army. So Arjuna said, sir, I want you as my Sarathi. Duryodhana said, oh my God, what a fool. Phew. My goodness. And he also said, okay, fine. And he was so happy. I've got the whole king's army. What is one person going to do? And Arjuna may not completely understand it, but of his dharma and so on brought him to a point where he said, this is Ishvara. And Ishvara knows what to do. I better just choose him. And so this is the Sutaya here. Swami Maheshanji makes this point very well, that really, if you choose this Ishvara as your, Rudra as your Sarathi, and that is exactly what the Gayatri Mantra says. Gayatri Mantra means that this is Diksha. You see, Gayatri Mantra is Diksha. This is when Upanayam is done, then this is provided. And so the direction of the person is set. Unfortunately, the problem we have is that we make it into just a kind of a ceremony from a vidhi standpoint. What it also means is that the parents also need to have the right values, that this is what I need to do, and I want to also have my child also follow through with this. All of that has to be done. So oftentimes the Gayatri Mantra becomes hollow, doesn't really mean anything. So, but it has a potential. At every point, if you remember, oh God, give me the right direction. Swami Dayanand, just to close the loop on that, Swami Dayanand used to say, if I look at my career, I made some good decisions on the alternatives, and both the alternatives are given to you. I think in my case, when I met Swami Dayanandji, and I had a pretty good job with Hewlett Packard. I was a first or second level manager, had a good job. I think I was about 34, 30, something like that, and so on. And then, so there is one choice in my life, and then the other choice was, I was totally impressed by the knowledge as it was presented by Swami Dayanandji. And I said, this is incredible. I really need to do this. But then on the other hand, there is family, money, jobs, and so on. I really had two choices. And I'm so happy I made that choice, honestly. My wife is not terribly happy with me, because it would have been nice if we didn't have to go away for 2.5 years. Our children were given schooling that was not the best. So we suffered. They all suffered on my behalf. Really thankful for them on that. But if you look at from my standpoint, this has turned out good, because I am now in this direction rather than that direction. And I haven't reached there yet, but I am getting there. So the Sarathi, Namasutaya, expresses this fact, that may you be with me when I'm making the right decisions in my life. This is really what it means. Okay. So Namasutaya, Ahantyaya. And so Ahantyaya here means, this is not an ordinary Sarthi. Not an ordinary Sarthi. I mean, even in the Mahabharata, Krishna was not an ordinary Sarathi. There is descriptions in the Mahabharata where Arjuna says, there's something funny happening. All these arrows are coming to me, but they just fall down before they reach me. Are you doing something about this? What? The Krishna, of course, was. I don't know. I mean, I've read it somewhere. And so before the arrows reach, then Krishna would stop them. And so all of that. And the Sarathi that Krishna was not an ordinary Sarathi. It's not something that can be destroyed by thousands of people or anything like this. Atma cannot be touched by Hitler or anyone else. No one. You cannot kill. And so Ahantyaya, one which cannot be destroyed. That kind of a Sarathi you are. I know, Rudra, you are that Sarathi. Be that Sarathi for me. Be that charioteer for me, is what is described in this. Okay. This is an interesting one. So, and anyway, a couple of them. If you turn to page 88 on mantra number 10. In mantra number 10, it talks about the word mantra itself. Namo mantrine vanijaya kakshanam pataye namaha. So mantrine means the Lord of all secrets. So how do we say mantrine? So the word mantra, which we use, all of these are mantras, are called mananat trayate yaha, is called mantra. So trayate means it protects you. How does it protect you? Mananat, by just thinking about it. You don't have to do anything. And so the transformation of a person from a jiva to something much bigger is done through thinking. There's nothing to be done. There is something to be known. And so the mantra blesses you and protects you by giving you those thoughts that pull you out of this problem of bhava. And also, so this is mantra. Mantra is also known as something which is a secret. In fact, one of the acharyas, I don't know which one, so the two talks about it. You know, when there is a prime minister, in the person who assists a king is called a mantri. A mantri means, even now, chief ministers are called, what is it called? Pradhan Mantri? Mukhya Mantri is chief minister. And prime minister is? Pradhan Mantri. By the way, this is interesting. This afternoon, I looked into it. Have you done? I don't know, some of you are Maharashtrians. Do you keep track with all the, you know what happened in Bombay? The Shiv Sena is out and BJP is back in. This is a huge thing. Absolutely an amazing thing. So this Thackeray guy has left the chief ministers. We're talking about chief ministers. That's why I got reminded of it. So he had to leave. Because I read a very good, I was actually getting late. It was such an interesting article by NDTV guy. So when they, in the last election, BJP had I'm somewhat approximate, 106 seats. And Shiv Sena had 56 seats. Okay? So they had gone together because they both they have a Hindutva thinking and so on and so forth. But then they had a fight. So Thackeray said, the chief minister will be half and half. Half the time you do, half the time we do. And Fadnavis said, no, we never made that promise. So there was a fight. So then he says, I withdraw your support. And he went to Congress and NCP with Sharad Pawar and so on and got into the majority. This article today is such music to my ears. Said, do not mess with Modi ji and with Amit Shah. They are very tough people. So they said, okay, we will admit the defeat, but we're going to come back in due time. And so they started working and working and working, and there was one person within NCP who had loyalty for 42 MLAs. I forget his name. Huh? No, Ajit Pawar was outsider. This is within Shiv Sena. Eknath, yes. Somebody called Eknath something. It's of course, in the conduct of things and so on, there's always friction that comes up, even within your own party. Like, for example, this is very possible, this is Eknath guy, I don't know, I'm just making it up. might have said, I need some things, my son-in-law wants a job or something like this. And this fellow might have said, no, nothing like that. So he said, okay. So he went to BJP and said, I am withdrawing my support for Shiv Sena. That's exactly what has happened. I think it is still transpiring. They have to count all the votes. But now BJP is back in power again. So this is called, so these are all these mantris. So in the old days, even now, the mantri is a person who keeps the secret of all the things that are going on. People don't know it, but they are the keepers of where the money is, where the votes are, and so on and so forth. So this is what is called mantri. And so here, Namo Mantrine. Mantrine means you are the biggest chief minister ever. And you are a keeper of the biggest secret ever, which is true. It is absolutely a funny thing that something that should be so good for everyone, why doesn't anybody follow it? Because it is such a secret. You know the story. This is a very famous story that there was since we are talking about Mumbai, so this is a story of a jeweler who used to travel from Mumbai to Surat every night. He would take a train because Surat is a place where they do all the polishing of the diamonds and so on. It's a very famous place, world famous. And so the diamonds will come to Mumbai, and they will. This person would put it in a very safe bag and transport to Surat. So there was a famous thief who was watching what's going on. He was a very clever guy. So for a number of years, he saw when does this guy go to Surat? And what compartment does he go to? So one day, on this, this is a two-seat compartment in first class. So he got himself on the other seat and befriended him and said, hello, how are you, this, that, or the other. The two of them were, train started and so on. His idea was that as soon as this guy goes to sleep, I will go through his luggage and steal his bag of diamonds. You know the story, right? There's only one or two people, so there's at least one or two who said no, so I will continue. So, so this fellow, he went to the bathroom, I think, in the morning to brush his teeth and so on and so forth. And in the meantime, he was quickly going through all the stuff, and he couldn't find the diamonds. And when then he had to go to the bathroom. When he came out of the bathroom, this fellow was counting the diamonds in his bag. He says, what the heck? Now he was very curious. So he confronted this fellow and said, sir, I am a thief. And I know that you had this bag of diamonds, and I wanted to steal it from you. Now I'm really curious, where did you keep it? He says, very simple, underneath your pillow. That's it. He says, do you think I'm a fool? I know who you are. I know how thorough you are, and you are never going to go underneath to find out that. This is the mantrine that we are talking about. This is Ishvara he has his scheme of doing things is just amazing. You give the Atma to everyone, and an Atma which is fulfilling, it gives you complete freedom and all that, and yet we don't know about it. It is right inside our. And so this is an important thing. That story that we had this morning about the farmer. It's very close. Ishvara is very close. And so they say that Ishvara resides in the hearts of people. This is interesting. We'll continue on this for a little while. And so you least expect it, but it's there. You just have to sort it out, and if you do, this is a very big thing, really speaking, because this is exactly what we're talking about, Ghore Rupa and Aghora Rupa. So we are totally convinced that my success, my freedom, my happiness is outside of me. And this is confirmed by my experiences. So, for example, a simple act of eating ice cream is a very good example. The example of ice cream, I think that may come later on some of the, how ice cream gives you peace of mind. You see, it's so interesting. You look at the people who are just on around the ice cream parlor. They have a very interesting expression on their faces. They're all sort of like happy, slurping away at the ice cream, not willing to share with anybody else. This is what happens if one of their sisters or brothers says, "Can I have some?" No, because I'm very interested in finishing my own ice cream. So they're very happy. So this confirms the fact that ice cream is the source of my happiness. How can Atma be I am an unhappy person right now. If Atma was happy, then I would be happy, but I'm not. But a simple ice cream gives me happiness. So this is a confirmation about the outward-looking nature of the self. This is exactly like the thief who's really searching all over for happiness, but doesn't know that it is right behind me. Right? It is me actually, not behind me. Swami Dayananji would get upset if I said, he would say that he would get upset about anything which says Atma is within me. He says, no, it's not within you, it is you. But I think when you say Atma is within me, this is what is called Pratyak Swarupaha. Pratyak Swarupaha. This is a very important thing that we will probably, hopefully I'll do this sometimes in this week and all, as the Upadana Karanam, which is Avyaktaha and Pratyak Swarupaha. And so I don't understand how I can be the source of happiness. I don't understand that at all. So this is the secret. This is the secret, and this is what is Mantrinev, etc. is talked about here. So I think I'll stop and then go to the next section.
Can I ask one question though? Just 2 words later it says Kakshana, Kakshanam Pataye.
Yeah.
And Kakshanam is inaccessible places. Is it again tying up with the secrets? Or is it?
It's your own mind, it's your own heart. Yeah. That's exactly underneath the pillow. That's the least place that you will look for. Yeah. Okay, I think we'll have time for at least a couple of more concepts. So let's look at now number 90. Page 90, number 11. Namo bhuvantaye varivaskrita aushadhinam pataye namaha. So here, the word varivaskrita is very significant, and we should understand that. And Aushadhi, of course, means the medicine that makes me happy, that cures me from my diseases. So that's a very simple thing. Look at Varivaskrita. Varivaskrita means one who is extremely close to me. And in fact, in the Vedanta literature, this concept is talked about, which is called Antevasinaha. You may have seen that. Antevasinaha. Antevasinaha means very close to me. This is an important concept. Why? Because what really delivers the goods is closeness to the Guru. This is why and is very happy that you attended this class. You decided to do it. It's very, very good for you. Why? Because what you can get straight from a Guru at the close quarters, you're not going to be able to get it by just reading books. Doesn't happen. If it happens, then you don't need gurus. Then you would, this is why, we even criticize Sikhism. The Sikhs, for example, have made such a mistake on this. That the 10 gurus are there, and then the last one says, I'm the last guru. And similarly in the case of really all religions, if you look at Christianity, if you look at Islam, and so on. So the gurus were there and they're gone now. And so even in this, going back to the Sikhism, so the Sikhism, they say now it is in the Granth Sahib. So if you go to a Gurudwara, you know what they do is that they have this Granth Sahib open, huge book, and there is a person who is doing the fanning of it by giving it so on and so forth. And you talk about any real guru, they don't have any real guru. You just keep on reading this and so on. It's not going to happen. Really speaking, and even our gurus, Adi Shankara and so on, they're not there. So the only way they're alive is through me. I'm the one who is giving them any kind of a form for it. And if it doesn't happen with you, then that's a different matter altogether. But if it has to happen, it has to be done through a direct contact, very close one, with a person staying. And more importantly, this is what happens is, this is just 1 week, and you get a little glimpse of a person. And Swami Viditatmananda used to say the same thing. He said, it's so interesting that the students get them Shraddha by you. The Shraddha is from the words that you use, but ultimately the person who is delivering it, that's who they have a contact with. And that's how they get attracted by it. So this is what is called Varivaskrita, something which is Antevasinaha. And so this is just 1 week and you get a little glimpse of it. But if you do this, this is why you have to go through an ashram for 2 years, if you really are serious about it. Why? Because the doubts are slowly removed, one item at a time and so on. It just doesn't happen like this. And it can happen like this, but you don't allow it to happen. You have so many doubts in your mind. What about this? What about this? And so on. And so that can only be done through a close contact with the Guru. This is where Hinduism is unique. You have to get this understanding through a living Guru, not through books and doing puja and so on and so forth alone. So this is represented by this word Varivaskrita. who provides you with the medicine, Aushadhinam Pataye Namaha. So with that, we'll close today's class. Om Asato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityor Ma Amritam Gamaya. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.